It is almost the end of the year and I still have so many books that I want to read before the year ends. So here are the top 8 to 10 books that I'm going to try and prioritize before the end of 2024. Now the first book that I have on the list is A Fellowship of the Ring, part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R. Tolkien. I don't think this book really needs much introduction. The only problem is that I can't believe that I haven't actually read this book yet. I have watched the movies countless times, but I've just not read this trilogy, and it's a shocker. I can't believe it myself, but this is definitely going on my list of books I want to read. Look at it. Also, I have this beautiful edition, so I am very excited to read this and look through all the illustrations that are within the pages, so that's very exciting as well. Next book that I have is one that I've actually already started, and that is The Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is part of the Farseer trilogy. It's the second book in that trilogy, and with this trilogy, it's part of like a wider world or slash universe that Robin Hobb has created. She's got lots of different series and they all kind of link together at the end, I believe. But this trilogy, along with like another one as well, it's like what people recommend that you start off with if you want to get into that world, which is why I am here. And like I mentioned, I have already started this book, done some tabbings and everything, and it is another fantasy novel. Yeah, I just really want to finish it off and see where it goes, really. So it seems like my list is full of fantasies, because my third one is A Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin. This is part of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I think many people have heard of this book slash series because there's like a TV show adaptation of it, which I'm sure many of you are already aware what it is. Again, medieval-esque fantasy, dragons involved. I think there's magic as well. Lots of backstabbing, lots of political intrigue in this story. Lots of characters dying as well, and another thick, chunky boy. So I am looking forward to reading this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read it before the end of the year, but I really want to try. So that is why it's on the list. All right, with chunky books, there is the chunky book, and that is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, which is part of the Stormlight Archive series. This is the third book in the series, and yeah. So there we are. I like chunky books, what can I say? And again, fantasy. This is epic fantasy, super high stakes. They've got like hard magic system as well, which is like magic that you can like almost quantify slash has a bit of like a science behind it, which is very interesting, and I do quite like reading that. And with Brandon Sanderson's work, his writing is usually quite straightforward, so not as like floral writing, not as poetic. I really do enjoy his Brandon Sanderson's writing. This is part of the Cosmere universe that Brandon has. Like I know him personally, but like that he's created. Again, I have started this book as well, and I really wanted to read this and then like read Rhythm of War before the end of the year, because he has the 5th book releasing in December, and I wanted to read these 2 books before that was coming out, but I don't think that's going to be possible. But either way, I'm really enjoying this book anyway, and that is why it's on the list. Right, so the reason why I said it's 8 to 10 books is because I have here 3 Stephen King books. Now, I don't think I'm going to be putting all of them in the list, or at least if I read one from the 3, then I'm happy with it. I'm happy that I've done that, you know? So this is almost like one instead of 3 separate, if that makes sense. So we have The Shining, which is a very popular book slash movie adaptation as well. Horror, of course, as you are probably most likely aware. We have The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series, which is a fantasy, I believe. And there's like, I don't know, 9 books in this series, and I love a long series. I love a good old long fantasy series, so this is, I'm sure, going to be up my street as well. And the last one we have is The Stand, big chunker boy, and I think this is a horror slash suspense slash thriller, maybe? I don't really know. All I really know about this book is to do with like a virus that wipes out, I think, almost all of the human population, like 99%, and then the 1% of the population is just trying to like figure out what to do after that. So these are the 3 books, and I consider this to be like the 5th book on my list. So one of the wonderful Stephen King books. So back to fantasy. I love fantasy. We have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. This is the 6th book on my list, and this is the first book in the Shepherd King duology, I believe. And this is more of like a dark slash gothic fantasy. I think there's some romance in here as well. I think the main character either shares a mind, or like there's a demon that lives in her, or like she shares a mind with the demon, which is pretty interesting. And I think something to do with like something happens in the town that she lives, and she has to like wield the power from the demon to help out, like some sort of magic. I don't know. Yes, you guessed it, my 7th book, another fantasy. It's Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. This is a cozy fantasy. It's the 2nd book in this trilogy, I think it is. And yeah, cozy fantasy with a bit of adventure, and I think a bit of romance in here as well. So I'm looking forward to finding out what other adventures Emily Wilde is going to go on, what kind of adventures she's going to take us on. I'm very intrigued, and I'm looking forward to it as well. Also, the cover is cute. Oh, my face is gone. There we go. Look at that. Right, so the 8th and final book on my list is Scythe by Neil Shusterman, which is part of a 4 or 5 book series, and it's a dystopian sci-fi fiction book. And I believe what happens in here is that we are in the future, and humankind have gotten to the point where there are no diseases. They've gotten rid of all of that. Everyone is super healthy. Everyone's like feeling great. The only problem is that people are not dying, and there's like the human population is just increasing and not stopping because no one is dying. So we have, in this story, we have these people who are recruited, are called Scythe, I think, and what they basically do, their job is to kill people because people are not dying, so they're going to have to try and get rid of some, and these people are recruited to do that, which is kind of crazy and kind of weird as well. But I'm intrigued to how this book pans out. My one and only sci-fi in this whole list, which is interesting. In case you wanted a recap, here's all the books on my list. Yeah, I don't even think it's that big of a list. I think it's just that we have so many thick boy books that makes it look giant. I mean, look at this one. Giant, you know? Ooh, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a pretty quick one actually. But yeah, those are the books that I really want to read before the end of the year. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and let me know what books are on your list. You know, do you have a list? Are there like books that you want to finish off before the end of the year? Are there any books from this list that is on your list as well? Let me know. That's it. That's the end of the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!